as I've been doing is I've been calling it Red Alert Planetary Invasion. He's like, I ain't call it Red Alert, that's what I was. I'm like, good, alright, that's what I call it.
Call it Nerd Alert.
Or Red Rain, like what he said. I said, so.
Well, we're on, so watch your mouth.
Oh. Take that back.
What are you hitting?
Watermelon, Old Smoky.
You know, somebody gave us a bottle of that stuff,
Yeah.
and I know you'd like it, because it's sweet as shit.
Yeah.
It's way too sweet.
My favorite.
Way too sweet. Let me see if I can actually bring this in a little bit. Okay. Top fans. No, we don't want to do that. Well, hopefully you guys can comment on this. Anyway, so, you want to stop streaming? No, cancel. I want to get out of that screen. Thank you. All right, so you guys were warned that we're going to do a live session here. Mitch doesn't know anything about this.
Oh.
I mean, you don't know what we're going to talk about.
Maybe I did.
Well, you kind of did. Like, I sat down and we started yammering about stuff, and I'm like, this is good stuff that we can do. So, anyways, cheers.
Cheers, my bud.
I need about 20 of these in a row. I need a belt fed of these after today.
I can cover it.
I'd rather not spend the night here. Anyhow, so yeah, we were talking about some World War II stuff and so forth. I went to the hobby show last week and picked up a bunch of models. Didn't get that many good deals on it, but I did pick up a hey Ben, the dodgiest dudes in town. So Ben's on here all the time. You wouldn't know because you don't come on here, but
I'm busy.
Ben's on here all the time. He's from the old country, your old country.
Ah, Germany.
No, not Germany.
Scotland.
No, he wears deodorant.
Oh.
No, he's on here all the time, and he used the handle Ben Waddy, and I figured, oh, it's Ben from the Waddy. Welcome, come again.
No way.
No, it's Waddington.
Waddington, see?
That's a harumph for that. A harumph or two. Anyway, so I picked up some World War II stuff. I wanted to get into the Pacific. So I've never done a lot of Pacific gaming. You probably haven't either.
Just the one, well, I'm about to, but just the one that me and you played that one time with that at the convention.
So you've never played Pacific either?
Not too much maneuvering.
Yeah.
It's not as exciting as tanks trying to get the flank and all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
it's a little light on the tanks. Well, the tanks, I think we talked about this a little bit the other night. Tanks pretty much in the Pacific were used as infantry support.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's a problem there. Hey, call the
Yep.
tanks in, blow the shit out of
Yep.
it. You know, when the naval gunfire can't get something.
Yep.
You know, even in Burma, same thing. It's not like there was like these huge. The only place that tanks really played a big role was in Manchuria.
Yeah.
How'd that go for the Japanese?
Woo!
Not too well. Not too well. So, yeah, I haven't done really any Pacific games. I was looking to get that, getting into that, and I don't know if I told you this. I'm going to create an imaginary island. Now, of course, the best thing about it is coming
The
up with the name.
plane! The
The plane, not a fantasy island. Okay, that could be. What's in your fantasy? Well, there's a panther hiding in the. No. It's to, you know, so if you pick up something, you know, like one, but for instance, you probably don't know this, and I didn't know this either. Marines in the Pacific, right? That's where they're at, right?
Yep.
They didn't fight, not too many Marines fought the Germans. Not in the Second World War.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, there's nothing Second World War, right?
Nothing Second World War, okay?
All right.
Michaela, what's up? Or is it Michaela? Whichever one you want. So, they all went to the Pacific.
Yeah.
Do you realize that they did not land in the Philippines?
Yeah, because MacArthur and the Army were in deal with that.
But aren't they like the same thing? Apparently not.
Actually, no, I didn't. I mean, because like
a few
Nimitz,
Marines did land, like 200 or 300. That's it.
but like Nimitz was running his own show and MacArthur was running his own show, and Nimitz was going through the center and MacArthur was kind of pushing from the south.
So if you want to use Marines as infantry, and you don't want to play one of these Pacific battles. It's basically this atoll that's all sand, fucking crabs, coconuts, 6-inch, 5, 6, 8, 14, 16-inch gunfire landing. You know, hold on, let's fire for effect. All right, the blast radius of that is like this big. You know, it's like, you know, if you don't want to deal with that, you know, because that's the problem with the islands is it's like they're landlocked. The Japanese are obviously on the defensive. Yeah, they do counterattacks, suicidal ones. Okay, but they've got, you know, all the toys the United States gets. So, you know, we like a little bit of balance. So it's like, you know, so if you want to use the Marines, that's the only environments they're in except Guadalcanal.
Yeah.
Guadalcanal Marines don't have the Grand. They're all equipped with a Springfield. So if you have Marine figures,
make sure you have the bolt action.
You can't use those. You can't use those. So if you want to use Marines, what do you got? What are you left with? I mean, there was like one action in this battle of, I think it's like Cape Gloucester or something like that. It's near Rabaul.
Yeah.
It's at the tip top of the Solomons. The Marines landed there, and you saw the Pacific, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the shipholes they went in.
Yeah.
Okay. But you know, if you want to do Marines, you got to make up your own land or not use them. Now Burma's cool.
Right.
But the bad thing about Burma is, and I mentioned this to some of my viewers, is all of the tanks that went to Burma are painted overall green. Well, that's fucking boring. Now they had cool symbols, like there's some units that had little elephants, because the British actually have better looking tank symbols than the Germans did. The British have some cool symbols, you know, on their tanks and stuff. It's the 135th scale model. I mean, that shit's important to me. And I don't want to just like, you know, you're done, right? Did I see the new War Games Illustrated with the Battle of Rabaul World War I version? No, but I did see Yorkshire Gamer's podcast YouTube thing, and he convinced me not to ever buy a War Games Illustrated. Well, he echoed it now. I totally agree with it, by the way. But anyhow, no, I didn't know that. So they have a World War I Rabaul. You want to get me into World War I too? I can't even get into the Pacific in the second one.
Now, I'd rather do Pacific than World War I.
You'd rather do Pacific in World War II than World War I anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Unless it was early World War I. Where
so there are exceptions to the rule.
Yeah, where they're still on the mobile until they start thinking trenches, that gets old then.
Well, and if you do an imaginary island.
Yeah.
If you do an imaginary island, you can use Marines as the main ground force. Yeah. It's not that, okay, you're going to run the Marines, and you're going to run the Australians, and you'll run the Indians, and you'll run the Gurkhas, and you'll... It's not to do that. That's bolt action bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something they would pull and something like that. What do you got? I think, well, I've got British. Oh, they're here too. What about the Free French? Fucking throw them in as well. That's not what the purpose of the imaginary island is. It's like, you know, palm trees, but one area we don't have to worry about naval support. And, you know, maybe, because the Japanese on the Philippines have a tank division. Now, who knows if they ran or not.
Right.
Or, you know, if they can move during the daytime. You know, but
well,
there's stuff that they can do.
A lot of jungle.
Well, the stuff that the Japanese used for invasion in the Philippines in 1941 and 42, I found this article that said all the planes that we used. I know planes is your strong suit. It's not mine either. But you know, if you may not know Japanese planes, but you recognize some of the names.
Right.
You know, a Frank or a Nick, you know, a name or whatever.
Oscar Betty.
And Oscar Betty, right. The nicknames for the Japanese Army planes that invaded the Philippines in 41 and 42, you know, like the stuff that Clark Field, and, you know, that pushed them back into Bataan and all that, you would know any of them. Anne, the hell's the place? Anne. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna get bombed by Anne. You know, just some rinky-dink, beat-up type planes.
Old stuff.
Just really old stuff. Yeah. What's in the white box?
This one.
It says Raudgen.
The guard.
It's from the Luftwaffe 60th Luftwaffe Division. There it is.
What?
Oh shit, it's probably backwards on you guys. You guys seeing everything in reverse.
It's just guard for my... Can you see that?
It's squats, right?
No, it's these are the humans. Except for that little group there, Ogrins.
Yeah, it's Epic 40K.
Yeah. Which is now becoming Red Rain for me.
Yeah. It's that time of the month for Red Rain.
At least I'm playing with it.
Yeah. So anyways, didn't really get any Japanese stuff to do that.
No
Or
deals.
Marines. Yeah. Well, yeah, they didn't have the right stuff for sale. Okay.
Probably not too many people bought that stuff because not as many people were interested. And you get better deals on the Eastern Front stuff because everybody bought a crap lot of stuff.
Well, so I did pick up a Panther that I already have the same model of, and a Tiger, and they were $5 a piece. That's the, you know, when you're selling something that's like 15, 18 bucks, and you're selling it for $5, that's the stuff you need, right? So I started thinking, you know, I built the Panther and the Tiger. You don't know this because you don't watch my show. And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I just started a poll. You need a rebel flag over the window. No, but there's 2 Nazi flags over in the corner. No, there's not. I started thinking, like, let's see what people think about this. Because the whole, and we haven't talked about this, okay? But remember how the whole Alexander Hannibal thing happened?
Yeah.
This is exactly the same thing as the Alexander Hannibal thing.
Okay.
Okay? So I put a poll. What are people's favorite between these 2 big cats? Are you a tiger person? Are you a panther person? Don't answer. Because I think I've got you figured out. I don't know why the reasons are, and I have my reasons why I picked. So I did this poll, and the numbers were really slow coming in. And it was overwhelmingly, well, hold on a second. Okay, this is what I think you're going to say. So which one's your favorite of those 2? Are you a Panther guy or are you a Tiger guy?
I'm going to say Panther.
P for Panther. Okay, I'm just backwards for you guys. I'm the same way. Okay.
Even though I had a lot of problems, but once they get those worked out, it became the tank that they needed. Well, like breaking down in that, but it had the big tracks and maneuverability, and Tiger was slow. And,
so, couple things. The Panther came out 8 months after the Tiger. So when the Tiger came out, the Germans were still kind of winning.
Yeah.
Right? And the Panthers came out, their first action really was at Kursk.
Yeah.
The guys that...
But they rushed it.
They rushed it. The people had like no training on the tanks at all. Okay? Plus, you've got a tank that has... That's designed as a 30-ton tank, ends up being a 45-ton tank. So I don't really consider the Panther a medium tank. Like, oh, let's go to 75 millimeter gun. All 75 millimeter guns aren't the same, you know. But it had all kinds of problems with transmission. They'd crank it up, it'd catch fire. There was like a fuel leak.
Yeah.
You know, they had to change. There was an issue that was wrong with the exhaust where it kept getting hot, and then fuel would drip on it and catch fire. It's like there aren't any Russians anywhere near it, and you knock your own tank out. Okay. So from a tank crew perspective, you're more likely to have better crewmen on a Tiger than you are on a Panther.
Yeah.
Now, they made 5 times more Panthers than they did Tigers. Okay. What I don't like about Tigers is, with a few exceptions, Tigers were kind of held in their own little battalions and were kind of used as little conf group. Yeah, like, oh, you need a bolster thing? Let's go ahead and send you. You know, you can have a company of these. They can use you for a while, but there's no interesting. Is it drinking rum and coke? You're drinking
The watermelon.
Salty watermelon whiskey and what? And Coke?
And Coke.
Straight Coke? I mean, real Coke, not Coke
Real
Zero?
Coke. Yep. Coke.
Oh yeah.
Coke.
I'm going to fall asleep just thinking about how much sugar's in that. So, even at Kursk, there was all 3 SS divisions had a company of Tiger 1s attached to them. That were actually, they were part of that division. Okay? Grossdeutschland, that was on the left of the Panzer Corps, had a company of Tiger ones. The 3 regular Wehrmacht Panzer divisions, they're on the right-hand side of the SS Panzer Corps, on the left of it. This is all in the south.
Mm-hmm.
They had the 503rd that was split 3 ways, and each company was given to the 6th, the 11th, and I forget whichever the other one is, Panzer Division. And what happened is they would actually lead the assault. They would send those Tigers in the lead, and the other tanks would, they would be behind them. So if they encountered like a crash boom or something like that, a 76 millimeter anti-tank gun, which the Russians had a shitload of because they knew they were coming for months, so they had them all dug in. They really couldn't hurt a Tiger as much, whereas it could knock out a Panzer III or IV just fine, So they used those in those. On the north part of the front, the 505th, I think, was also divvied up in companies and handed out to different Panzer divisions as well. So they're not really part of like a group. They're kind of like mercenaries.
Yeah.
So like, as a modeler, I'm like, it's not as if these are the ones for. Now, late in the war, they started collaborating all kinds of stuff together. Okay, but early on, I don't like that about the Tigers. That they're like in their own like, stay away from me. I'm the Tiger. Stay away from that. Now, the Panthers had their debut at Kursk, and they had probably about 3 times more, 2 or 3 times more Panthers than the Tiger ones, and they were all one group. They were in one Panther brigade, which they never did it again.
Uh-huh.
Well, they made other Panzer brigades, but they made a Panther brigade specifically for Kursk. 2 battalions, so about 100, that was more than that. It was a lot of tanks. And they put them attached to the Grossdeutschland division, right in front of a fucking swamp. Okay? That was also covered in mines. I forget, it was the swamp. I think it was the swamp first, and then minefields on the backside.
Oh.
So they cut all kinds of hell. I mean, the Panthers did. If they would have just sat there and just shot things at long range, they would have been better off. Because the Panthers gun and the Tigers gun have pretty equal performance.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I think the Panthers gun is a little bit better. Of course, if you get through the armor, the 88's got more oomph in the charge. But so I like the Panthers better because you'll see them in different divisions. You can do them in different stuff like that. I don't like either one of them from the standpoint is I don't like overlapping road wheels. I don't think it looks very good. And the people that had to replace them, they really didn't like it. Because if you have one that's knocked out by a mine on the inside, you have to take the front one off, the 2 beside it, just to get to the one in the back. But they had to do that because they were overburdening these vehicles. Like, put more stuff on. Now, one of the commenters made a comment that he was like 50-50 on which one he actually liked better. So he went with the Tiger because it was the first model that he built. And see, I could say the same thing but the opposite because the first 1/35th scale model I built was a Panther. It was the Tamiya Panther A or whatever it is. It's the early Panther that has the little. Now, I like the Tiger because the Tiger is a completely Germanic vehicle.
Yeah.
Whereas the Panther, if they would have never gone to Russia, they wouldn't have designed the Panther. Because the Panther has a lot of T-34 stuff to it. The sloped armor.
The wide tracks.
Well, yeah, it does have wide tracks. Yeah. That is one good thing about the Panther is it has good. It doesn't sink in the mud that much.
They got that off of it.
They got that. They also have the driver has a little hello. Of course it's only this big instead of like being the size of like 2 humans on the Russian one. And so I like the fact that the other one looks Germanic instead of being
Brushco German.
Instead of being instead of one of those things. But so the numbers started coming in, and it was overwhelmingly in favor of the Tiger, like 4-1, 4-1 in favor of the Tiger, and then it straightened out. I think I checked it just before this, and it's 54% Tiger, 46 Panther. So my
Well,
Panther
close
people,
up.
so my Panther people came out.
And I vote Panther.
But you didn't vote on it. You could have eaten it out.
Well, that's my vote. I'm giving it on air now.
Anyway, so it's fairly. I would have thought that it would have been pretty even. I mean,
So what was the first mass World War II production American tank that was a two-man tank?
oh, so yeah, so this is one of these things that we were talking about, one-man turrets and those type of situations. So the Americans were kind of late to the game, and maybe that was a good thing. But the first two American tanks that they had that were close to being produced were a couple of M2s, and that's what's really confusing about the Americans is they really need to come up with other letter number combinations, right? You're like, oh, what's the rifle? It's an M1 Garand. Well, wait a second. The Tommy gun's also an M1. You know, it's just really confusing. When you get to M3s, M3 is a Lee. It's also a Grant. It's also a Stewart. It's also a half track. It's also a grease gun. Like, dude, get off the M3, dude. Like, pick something else.
Maybe the government at that time was trying to be real thrifty on their paperwork and fill out the M3 form.
Your government at work.
Your request form for M3s. Just check which M3 you need.
So the first ones that almost went into action were the M2s. Okay, they were developing a medium tank that was a predecessor of the Lee, which I don't believe had two guns on it. I believe it was only armed with a 37 turret, but it was Lee shaped. You know, it was high profile and all that kind of stuff, right? And the M2 there was an M2 Stewart. I don't think it was called the Stewart yet because you need the British to come in and to name things for them because yeah, exactly. Otherwise, there's no names.
M3
right?
nonsense. We're not going to call that.
Right.
That's a Stewart.
That's right. We don't like that general. Tough titty. You should have come up with your own name. You know. But yeah, those were the predecessors, and I believe the M2 medium tank never went into action. And this is like 1940, 40. I mean, even before that, like in the 30s, 38.
Nothing was going on.
Nothing was going on. I think they had borrowed or they had bought a couple of Vickers 6-ton tanks to kind of experiment with. I think. Okay. You know, that's the one that the T-26 is based on.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. But the M2's mediums never went into action. The only way you get those in action is to play World of Tanks or something like that. It was a make-believe thing. But the M2s, I think some M2 Stewarts actually did go into action in like the Philippines or whatever. And those, I don't remember if those had the same configuration as the early M3 Stewarts that had the 5 machine guns, because they had a whole machine gun.
Yeah.
You know, a bow machine gun, as they like to call it, plus a coax, plus an AA machine gun, all 30 cal, and then 2 in the sponsons. I'm like, what's a 4-man tank? Like, what are all these guys doing? Hold on a second, let me come over here. You know, it's like it's like having a B-17. It's like a B-17 with a crew of 3.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, like you're everywhere, right? It's like, well, we just have them everywhere in case they break. The 2 that were in the sponsons were fired by the driver I believe by pedal.
Oh, wow.
And they were not movable. So I was reading this account, one of the first accounts that the Americans are using tanks against the Japanese, and in the Philippines in 40, it was probably 41, I believe it was in December. And there was these Japanese infantry that were kind of hunkered down behind the gully that's on this road. Like you have this M3 that was protecting this road, and the Japanese infantry were kind of hunkered down. So he wants to like spray them with machine gun fire. So he ends up like turning the front of his tank like this, you know, to do it. But eventually they did away with those things. You know, they did away. There was only one model of the Stewarts that had those, and then they just did away with them. You know, so you won't see those in anything. I'm not sure if the ones that were in Guadalcanal would have had those sponsons, but they never went to North Africa. The ones the Stewarts that we used in North Africa, no sponsons there. You know, but that's what they started off with. Well, we were talking about, you know, which, you know, one of the things that makes a difference in a lot of these games, like if you play something like Command Decision or stuff that's pretty high thing, they just look at the mobility of the tank, what kind of gun it has, and what kind of armor it has. And that doesn't tell the whole picture. Because, you know, you look at the stats on the German tanks and like, well, the trash, how they're able to do anything. I said, well, you know, we're not talking about Panzer IIs, we're talking about 3s and 4s, which actually weren't the majority of the force. But even Czech 38s, Czech 38s have a 2-man turret. Is a hell of a lot better than a 1-man turret.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
you can get a lot of things can, you know,
Get done.
can get done, right? But yeah, you look at the stats and the French tanks are great. You know, like, oh, they don't have radios. Well, that's not reflected in a lot of rule sets. Like they can't communicate with each other. Okay, I won't tell myself what I'm doing while I'm moving the other things around. You know, it doesn't really have a practical sense within the game system. You know, you don't really realize, because yeah, the French tanks have incredible freaking armor.
Yeah.
But one thing that happens is, with one man in turret, he has serious spotting issues. And I was reading this account where there was this French tank or French tanks that were defending in 1940 against the Germans, and they didn't see the Germans until like 60 meters away. Because, you know, you got limited visibility, you know, you don't have lots of guys watching everything. You got one guy, it's, you know, he's trying to load the tank, he's trying to spot targets, load the gun, fire the gun, order baguettes, you know, all the other stuff, that's all he's doing, you know, trying to command everybody else.
And if you think about all the one-man guys are busy doing that stuff, who's watching? And even if the one guy does see it, how does he communicate with the
even
other
if the
guys?
driver can watch, where can he see?
Yeah.
Right? There's one
Well,
spot.
how do you tell the other tanks? The Germans are coming, you know, if there's no radio communication.
Well, you put up your white flag for surrender, because it is a French tank.
Wait, not yet!
Okay, I came up with a new thing, and I can't see with the background how many people are. 2. Okay. I came up with a new thing. You know how everybody's ripping on the French all the time for
Yeah.
being French surrender monkeys and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And I'm not trying to defend the French, but I want to be fair. Every time, you know, the French, how many wars have the French surrendered in? How many wars did the fucking Italians switch sides? Nobody's talking about those, you know, sons of bitches.
Uh-huh.
So,
Uh-huh.
I think a Frenchman's half as sorry as an Italian. I'm just saying, you know. Nobody ever brings that up, you know. So I'm reading this book on Italy, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Tunisia one.
Yeah.
Learning all kinds of shit I never knew.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that when they landed on Sicily, within days, they took Mussolini away. Like Mussolini
Yeah.
was not in charge of Italy when they landed on Italy. Didn't know that.
They captured it right away. Like,
No, like
the
his own
Italian
people said,
Right. The old people took
over here, you know.
Because then the Germans had to go rescue.
Well, it would be 2 if you include the Franco-Prussian. Yeah, but at least they fought for a while. And 4 if you count Napoleon, the better one.
Aha!
Well, that's surrender after you get your ass beat in a war.
Hey,
That's different.
Hey, that was pre-Germany where they think, we can take on the world.
No, that's the difference. It's like, you can't count Napoleon surrendering, because how long did he fight for?
Oh.
Right? I mean, you know.
It's what, about 1797,
I mean, if you get-
96, all the way to
If you get crushed,
1813.
I mean, you know.
No, 1814 is.
That's like saying, oh, the Germans are always surrendering twice. They surrendered in the first war and the second. No, they got beat. Well, technically, the first one does count against them. But anyhow, yeah, the Italians, a bunch of side-switching motherfuckers. 100 days.
You know, I seen a video with the Italians in the Far East during World War II. There were Italians from, you know, they have provinces in China.
In World War II?
In World War II, in one of the cities, I wish I could remember. There wasn't a
You
lot
sure
of
it's
guys.
World War II?
Yeah, it's like 2,000-3,000 guys in there.
You sure it's not World War One?
Nope,
It's not
they
Twin
said World
Tower?
War II. They said World War II because they flipped. The Japanese didn't mess with them, you know, because they were allies. But then when they switched sides, they actually fought each other.
Oh, we're gonna have to look that up.
Yeah,
That's some
there's a
crazy shit
YouTube
right
video
there.
right there. It's like there's only like 5,000.
Shanghai, I think, in some sanctuaries, legation type things. You're the legation expert? Legation questions for this guy. Diplomatic affairs over here.
But they had like about 3,000 to 5,000 guys there, and they had like a naval, like they had like two. It almost reminded me of them trying to take World War II Italian gunboats, and then the sand pebbles. That's what I was thinking.
I've never seen Sam Pebbles.
Oh my gosh!
I know, it's a good movie. You know, I've never seen a movie with him in it.
Oh my gosh!
What's his name? I've never seen a movie with him in it.
Steve McQueen.
Never seen Steve McQueen in a movie.
Oh man!
So, you know how they do?
The Sand Pebbles. And, hey, and I took time and I watched The Wicker Man.
Did you like it?
Well, at first I was kind of like, okay, Tony's gonna owe me some time because this is really weird.
It was a decent movie, right?
It was really because of all my experiences with Alexander the Great and the hairdresser. I was like leaning like, okay, these people are really weird, you know, because they were. But you got to watch it to understand at the end what it, you know. That was pretty wild. That no, you're the guy where. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's like an episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, like an old, you know, before that even came on, that's their version of it.
I would have been really upset if that was like a really cute
guy.
girl.
Yeah.
Right? Because basically you didn't do anything wrong and you're getting sacrificed. Like, you know. And another reason I don't like Christopher Lee. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
I know he's a war hero and all that.
Yeah.
Guy's freaking weird.
It was always like the bad, weird guy.
Yeah, I fuck
always
that guy.
a bad guy.
Nah, I don't like him. Yeah, I don't like Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, but I did. I sat down and watched it. At first I'm like, can you tell me right? Is this the one?
Yeah. No, I got into it. I started watching it one day before work. And I'm like, if I do this right, I can watch the whole thing before work. And I thought it was pretty good. So, that guy that gets killed, is the detective. Supposedly he's a war gamer.
Yeah.
Or was. Whatever his name is. He's a war gamer.
But he's
or was.
also he did some other show.
He's another shit. I just don't remember what he's in. Is he the original Equalizer guy?
I think
he's the original Equalizer guy.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah. Which I didn't see.
I was gonna say because he's been in some stuff. I'm like,
you know,
oh wow, that's when he was young.
It's a movie with guns, but it's in Britain. Like that's not very believable.
I thought you would ask me like, what's
Ed Woodward? Yeah, Ed Woodward is Ed Woodward was a war gamer, like the guy that played Moff Tarkin. Yeah. You know that kind of thing. You know that.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably played a boring war game like Columbine Square. I'll raise you 2 pence.
Guaranteed it's probably Columbine Square.
Something like that. But hey, that's cool. So you liked the movie? I thought
it was interesting. I mean, it was after. You have to watch the whole thing to understand it.
It was cool because you were figuring things out
at
the same time that he was figuring things out.
Yeah. Because it makes you think that he's the hunter looking for the missing person, and then all of a sudden, nope, you're the one we've been looking for. What? Then you're kind of like, damn it, I wish I was an American policeman with a .38 right now.
Yeah, that's all. A pistol would have saved his life.
Yeah.
Or at least he'd take somebody with him.
Especially the big guy who slaps him around. Oh, God.
So you did see that?
I did. I finally watched it.
Well, what were you talking about before that?
I don't know.
Because I'm old, I can't remember that shit no more.
Oh, Sand Pebbles.
Sand Pebbles, okay.
Well,
I've never seen a movie with Steve McQueen in it.
Yeah.
But they have that thing on YouTube all the time where they show somebody famous. I died when I was whatever years old. I used to be this, I used to be that. Yeah. And some of them are pretty good.
Right.
The one that is Steve McQueen, he's younger than I am.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like he died when he was like 50.
Yeah.
He looked like shit.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked older than, I know he had cancer or some shit like that, but he looks older than I'll ever look.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't really realize that he died that young.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Sand Pebbles, I watched The Wicker Man. You gotta watch the Sand Pebbles.
No, the first movie, and I haven't avoided him, okay? But the first movie I'm going to see is Bullet. Because Bullet is the one that all the car chase scenes were influenced by that movie. The same way that all the sword fighting stuff is influenced by the Three Musketeers with Errol Flynn.
Yeah. So I had seen him in and the Sand Pebbles. And
Which I've heard was a good
And
movie.
the Great Escape. I like the
I haven't seen The Great Escape.
Great Escape.
That has
was
Sinatra
pretty
in it, right?
good. They had everybody in it.
Yeah.
Garner, all kinds of people in there.
Garner doesn't bother me. Who's the guy that bothers me? The guy from Lithuania bugs me. Bronson. I don't like Charles Bronson.
Yeah,
I don't like Charles Bronson. Like, dude, get rid of that mustache. Man.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do here?
You know.
And he might have been a nice guy in real life.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, they did. That guy's got an interesting. Even though he's always the top
Bronson?
guy. Yeah.
Okay.
You have to look up his history. He's got some.
I think the only
things.
thing I've seen him in was Battle of the Bulge.
Well, he's also in the Dirty Dozen. And,
Okay, I've seen that.
yeah.
Okay.
Um,
He's a guy I don't really care for. Just like I don't care for Robert Mitchum. I don't know.
Yeah,
like, come on, man.
he's so. It's like, hey, Robert Mitchell.
Yeah, he doesn't get excited
Robert
about
Mitchell.
anything.
No,
He doesn't get zero charisma.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So somebody was saying, hey, whatchamacallit was on TV, and it reminded me of it was a movie that I watched with my daughter that people regard pretty highly, and I rewatched it again recently with my daughter, and I'm like, and that was A Bridge Too Far.
Oh, yeah.
The Bridge Too Far has a lot of things that I don't care to see. Like,
Okay.
Elliot Gould should not be in a war movie.
Yeah.
Okay? Elliot Gould in a war movie is like me
Yeah.
playing a movie where I'm dealing marijuana.
And that's not the
Okay.
only movie he was in.
Yeah.
There was like that. Okay, if you think him and was bad there, Escape to Athena
You know,
with Sonny Bono
I
and
know.
him in there.
Oh, Sonny Bono was in that?
Yeah.
All right, so I am a huge Roger Moore fan.
Yeah.
I'm a huge
Yeah.
Roger Moore fan. Okay, and he can't do a German. He can't
No.
do a German
No.
officer.
Uh-uh.
Sorry, you know.
And he was all those guys were. In
Yeah,
there.
that
like-
was a.
That was the
I
worst-
watched half the movie.
Yeah.
I think the only guy that was cast correctly. Who was the Greek guy? Was it Kojak or was it Anthony Quinn?
Well, Quinn was in the Guns of Navarone, so
Yeah, well, that's my guy, yeah.
Kojak had to be
Kojak
was
was in.
Guns of the Sebastian.
Well, he is Greek.
Yeah, I think. So.
Yeah, he's Greekish.
Yeah.
Anthony Quinn is.
Anthony Quinn.
Anthony Quinn is Mexican.
No.
But I'm serious. I don't make this shit up.
No.
I know. I thought it was like fucking Greek. Like, well, I watched Guns of Navarone so many times. I'm like, that dude's Greek. You know? Like he knows how to do all the fucking dance and all that thing. No?
Oh god.
Yeah. He's some kind of Mexican Filipino thing. He's an interesting mix.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess that's good. He can do a couple different things.
So there you go. He was in a lot of movies.
Yeah, he's in a lot of movies. Yep.
And he always did a good job in whatever he was in.
So when are you and I gonna sit down and watch Kelly's Heroes?
Oh man.
We're the only two. I'm actually a little bit more excited than you are to see it.
Yeah, 'cause it's too. Hey, dude.
Okay, so all right, let's look at it realistically. Okay, everybody likes the movie other than you and me.
Yeah.
I have a problem with the music in the movie.
Yeah. It sounds like 60 flower people and.
Flower fucks. You know what I call the new flower fucks these days? The tenders. Oh, you're feeling the tenders. But back then, flower fucks. Yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like it's got definitely a flower fuck type of vibe to it.
Yeah.
But we like all the actors in there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, Clint Eastwood.
I'm not a huge Donald Sutherland fan.
I like
I don't
Clint
dislike Donald Sutherland. I'm not a huge Donald Sutherland fan.
I did like him in The Eagles Landed.
The one guy that lives. Dude, Robert Duvall makes a fucking great German.
Yeah. See?
You know? Well,
Okay.
one eye. With one
Yeah.
eye, he makes a good German.
Yeah.
My daughter liked that movie. But the best part of that movie is Larry Hagman. Going out there getting his ass
Oh man.
And there's a couple scenes of what are these guys doing with bazookas in a training area? This guy's like, the guy loads up the bazooka, boom, boom.
Not yet. Oh god.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I used to have that on VHS and it walked away from me, but now it's available.
Oh yeah.
But I don't have VHS players. Look good. My daughter did like that one. I wonder how she's going to deal with Kelly's Heroes.
Did you ever watch? I don't know what the name of it is, but I got it on VHS. I'll have to hook up one of my VHS machines with the Italians on the Eastern Front. There's a
Never
movie
heard
with
of
it.
it.
Well,
Let me guess, they get their ass beat severely.
yeah, it's interesting.
Oh,
But
oh, good. They're gonna send us somewhere that ain't the fucking desert. Oh, this ought to be easy.
I think it came out about the same time as that German one, Stalingrad or whatever. But they
You
had
know,
an Italian.
the Stalingrad
Yeah,
one
Eastern Front.
is really good, except half the movie is boring as shit.
Yeah.
You know, half the movie is boring as shit.
But both of them were foreign. I think the Italians made theirs. And the
Yeah, but Generation War is so much better.
Oh, yeah.
But every time I watch it, I find something else wrong with it.
The Generation War.
Yeah. Like first time, it's like they didn't have a Panzerfaust and or a bazooka or anything like that. I mean, why did they have to do that? And then like they didn't have MG42s back then. Every time I find something different, you know, that's good. 1944 is good. My daughter hasn't seen that one yet.
44.
Have you seen the Finnish ones yet?
Yes.
You've seen the Finnish
Yeah.
ones?
Unknown Soldier, and the Cold Winter War.
And the Winter War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both are really good. The Unknown Soldier was. I kind of enjoyed that a lot because that was more recently made, and they did a really good
Correct.
job with it.
That one's got like people going up against T-34s.
Yeah. But it's in the woods, not out in the open.
Well, sure. I mean, it's all freaking woods. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't drive like suicide trucks into them, right?
No. Oh my god.
It's amazing the Japanese got their shit together and were able to make like vehicles, like
Yeah.
quality vehicles after all the shit they did in the 1940s.
We'll get our revenge. We'll make their
Yeah, we'll make
recreation
good
vehicles
vehicles.
so good that they'll have to take ours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they're talking about the whole one-man turret, two-man turret. You know, people like to rip on the Sherman. The Sherman, when it came out, it really did its debut at Alameda. It was the best tank in the world at that time. I would argue it's the best tank in the world. I mean, what tank was better than the Sherman? I mean, okay, yeah, the Tiger was. The Tiger breaks down all the fucking time.
What about the 34?
Oh, you know, one thing I didn't consider between the Tiger and the Panther?
Yeah.
Fuel consumption. I bet a Panther's better on fuel
Yeah.
consumption than a Tiger one. Maybe not a whole lot better.
But
T-34? T-34 is ass.
oh, because okay, they're just hard to take out because
Because the Germans didn't have a
they
fucking
have
gun with
one
it
to take it
there.
out. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But they have no radios,
yeah.
two-man turret,
Okay.
okay? Which, you know, okay, it's a two-man turret. It's better than a one-man turret. But all the ammo's in the floor. Remember, you got a ready rack with like 4 rounds. Rest of your ammo's in a floor, in a box.
Uh-huh.
You have no turret ring, no turret basket.
Okay.
Okay, so you're firing around, right? Boom! The casing comes out. What do you do with it? Oh, drop it on the ground! All right, you drop it on the ground, right? You do that 3 times,
So the Americans.
and then you got to shuffle for ammo in the floor. All that's on the floor, and you want to turn your turret. There is nowhere for you to sit. So you literally have to like let's point the turret that way. You have to like
move with it.
you have to move with it, stumbling over all the kind. You
All
think
right.
Those little
I'm
things.
sold. I'm
no,
sold.
those little.
Yeah, but it makes sense.
Those little things.
That
are,
makes sense that the Sherman has all that stuff better than that.
Yeah, you need.
Yeah.
You need to train your guys properly, and now that they're trained, you need to make sure that they live to the next battle, so that you got guys that are useful, and you got guys that are around to train new guys. Not the Japanese thing where it's like there's no training.
Yeah.
You know.
That was when we were talking before we started. I had asked them. I'm like, I wonder what their mindset when they were developing these tanks. You know, you get the French with the one guy has to be the commander, the gunner, the loader. You know, why would they think that when the Germans are sitting here with the tank? You got a driver, you got the loader, you got a commander. You know, you got all these. So what was their mindset to come up with these versions?
They thought of them as defensive weapons. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you know, you can discount the Panzer II because the Panzer I and Panzer II, those were like, we're going to make tanks,
Yeah.
but they're really not tanks,
Yeah.
just so people don't know. But when they took over the factories for the Czech 38, the Czech 38 was designed as a one-man turret. They stuffed another dude in there.
Huh.
They stuffed another dude in there and made it a two-man tank. You know. So I was thinking the other day, you know, and the hatches. The Sherman has good hatches. You take something like a Panzer III. The Panzer III is not a bad tank, right? By any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
There's no hatch for the assistant driver and the driver. If they need a bail, and I mean that's important. That's
Right.
stuff that's not sexy. It's
Right.
not sexy to talk about that kind of stuff, but it's things that are important.
That the Americans thought about,
They
but
have
the
this-
Germans didn't.
They had this emergency exit door on the Panzer IIIs, the early Panzer IIIs, that was in the suspension, right? The problem is they stuffed extra ammo and you couldn't get to it. And there was no German Ocean. Like, oh
Yeah.
you kind of put
You
things
cannot
out in
do
case.
that.
So if the driver and assistant driver have to bail out of a Panzer III, they got to go either through the top or through those doors on the side, which are a weak point towards shots coming in from the side.
Yeah.
And you know, and I think of a Panzer III as like a good vehicle, but a Sherman, the front two guys have a hatch. Of course, you got all the three guys in the turret and the Sherman that need to go out through one hatch, but eventually they added another one. No, I don't think any vehicle has a gunner's hatch. The gunner's fucking stuck in there. Like you're gonna sit there and you're gonna fire the whole damn time. Some of them have a loader's hatch, but I don't think there's anybody that has a gunner's hatch in a turret. I need to look into that. But I was trying to think, is there a tank that has a hatch for every single crew member?
But every hatch means a weak point, so
Not if it's in the top.
yeah, everything's gonna have to be
Well,
up
the,
on the top.
the whole top of the tank is a weak point.
Yeah.
I think the most armored tank on the top, and I'd have to look this up, maybe has 30 millimeters of armor. And I doubt it. I think more like 20.
Which is what?
Oh, something
32?
like a Tiger 2 or
Yeah.
something. Something really big
Yeah.
that has like oodles of armor everywhere else. It's only going to have 20 or 30 in the roof. And that's why, you know, these planes that are flying around, well, it's only got a 20 millimeter cannon. How's it going to take out a tank?
Yeah.
It's got the tank has no tank armor on the top. You know.
So it's diving.
So,
Yeah.
plus you can knock out you can knock out the engine. If you knock out the engine and you got something like a Jagd Panther, okay, unless they come in this tiny little thing, we're done for, right?
Yeah.
So, Ben says you just found a film called The Last Chance, made by the Swiss in 1944, with some escapee Brits and Yanks that got into Switzerland playing the main characters. You watched that one?
I've not.
Oh, it's made in 1944. I'm out.
Ah, it's black
I
or
can't
white.
watch that.
You
Black and
won't.
I won't watch
If
it.
it's good, I will though.
There's a
I'll
German
watch
movie I
quite a
came
few.
across that supposedly lists German paratroopers in Italy, made in like 1956. I started watching it. It's black and white. I left. I want to watch. I want to see the freaking colors of the uniforms. It's on YouTube, colorized. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
All right. Well, I can do
Technicolor. Remember when they were doing it in the 60s?
What was the other one?
Technicolor.
No, there's another thing. Kodachrome, something else. There was a competition to it, I'm pretty sure. There was some competition to it.
I gotta get some Coke.
You gotta get some Coke. But yeah, a Sherman, I mean, when it came out, it was the best tank.
Yeah, you sold me now because I wasn't thinking like. Oh,
The only thing is that the U.S. decided, like, okay, we need to get shit over here. We gotta go across this fucking pond. So we gotta make it easy to make it across this pond.
Yeah.
So if you make the tank bigger, if you make the tracks wider, you can't fit as many, you gotta change the landing craft, you know, it's all an issue. Whereas the Germans are like, okay, well, we gotta move the Tiger by rail, and we gotta put different tracks on it to move it by rail. I mean, that's just retarded.
Did they really?
Yes, there was different. If you wanted to move a Tiger 1 by rail, and you do, because you're going to wear the thing out,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
You're going to consume all that.
So they had to
Fuel.
put different tracks on just to put on the train. Then when they got to the destination,
They had to change
switch
the tracks.
Oh my gosh.
So
Again, manpower.
the
It's like 300 guys for
German
one big
inefficiency.
gun. Yeah.
German inefficiency.
300 guys for one big gun. Woo!
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, they didn't upgrade the Sherman. So when the Shermans landed at Normandy, they had 76 millimeter armed Shermans already. They specifically asked, do not send any 76 millimeter armed Shermans. So all the Shermans that land in Normandy are armed with a 75 millimeter gun. Not until like Operation Cobra, like in July, do you start seeing some 76 millimeter armed Shermans.
Right.
And like, you know, 1 in 4 1 in 3 kind of thing. At the end of the war, they only got like 50-50. You know, of the MBT Shermans. You still had some Shermans with 105 and stuff like that. But they specifically did not want the 76 millimeter armed Shermans to land at Normandy, even though they were already using maneuver.
Huh.
You know, because they didn't want to deal with the supply problem
Right.
of having 2 different
Right.
kind of ammo.
Right.
So
Yeah.
another thing it doesn't take into effect is the Sherman, or really the Americans and probably the British as well, had this wonderful thing called white phosphorus. And white phosphorus is like this miracle thing. It's probably really dangerous. I think if you have a tank that's carrying white phosphorus ammunition and it gets penetrated,
You're in trouble.
and
You're in trouble.
you don't want to be in that tank.
You're in
You don't
trouble.
want to be in the tank that
Yeah.
has white phosphorus ammunition in it because it's probably extremely bad. I was reading an account that basically one little flake will go all the way through a guy's
Yeah.
leg.
Yeah, it's
It'll keep burning.
nasty stuff.
Is that like against the Geneva Convention? How are you killing Nazis? Who fucking cares, right? You either love Nazis or you hate them. Like, you can't,
Well, they had grenades. They had phosphorus grenades. I don't know in World War II, definitely in Korea.
They had them in World War II. They're
Yeah.
not that common.
Yeah, it's a nasty grenade.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they specifically said we do not want 76 millimeter armed Shermans landing in Normandy because the supply problem. Because the supply problem. And the landing at Salerno, which you probably don't know anything about, because I don't either.
Oh,
The Germans did a counterattack and they almost got all the way to the beach with tanks.
Angio.
I'm not there yet.
Oh,
I'm not the Anzio yet. I know what happens. They eventually break out.
yeah. The guy who played Columbo. Yeah, Columbo was there.
Oh, was it in the Anzio movie? I've never
Yeah.
seen the Anzio
Yeah.
movie. Is it color?
Yes,
Okay. All right, it can be watchable.
it's okay. I mean, I'd rather watch. Angio's all right. It's one of those. I think that was made in the '60s. There's quite a few different.
What about the old Battle of the Bulge movie?
Yeah.
Everybody rips it. It was always on TBS.
Yeah.
'Cause I've seen it so
I know.
many times.
It was like that's when as a kid, Memorial Day and all that. I always wanted to be, the weekend. Showed nothing but World War II movies. Well, war movies, but most of them were World War II.
When I was before the 1980s, most movies they showed were about the Pacific. It just seems like they were. I mean, it was, World War II started in 1941. That kind of crap.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe we didn't get over it yet.
yeah, I don't know.
That's what happens when you attack us. We can't get over it.
Yeah, I don't know what the thing is, but I got a king tiger that I'm gonna paint. I'm gonna find a guy that looks just like Robert Shaw, and I'm putting him as the commander. He's gonna be my Hessler. So
Is he gonna play the music?
the music's not that good. The music's not that good either.
God.
I've heard it a million times.
Maybe with the kids stomping their feet.
With the old German guy that says, "Fuck this, I'm going to go eat a
Yeah.
sauerbraten."
Yeah.
Fuck this. Oh, he was the guy that played Lutyens in The Sink of Bismarck, which actually was a good movie,
Yeah.
even though it's in black and white. Oh shit! I guess I've seen 6 movies.
Somebody
now in black
did
and
see
white.
a black and white.
No, but they
movie.
use like real ship models, not
Okay.
this bullshit like, oh, we'll use this American cruiser that kind of looks like the Bismarck. The fuck are you talking about? Get out of here. Yeah, they should colorize that one.
Why don't they do a remake? They
Then they fuck
remake
it up.
everything else. They never
If they
remake that
remade
stuff.
Sink the Bismarck, the Americans would have won it. Well, it was all because of the Americans. Fucking weren't there, dude.
Oh god.
Did you know that if you go and you look up stuff about the Bismarck on the internet, you haven't looked it up
No.
because it's not
This naval's not my thing.
naval's not your thing. Do you like air or naval more?
Air.
Really?
Yeah. Because air, you look at what air does, it wins.
Well, you don't know how to fucking swim or something? Guy can't swim. He doesn't like naval shit.
Oh god.
They were still hunting down those holdouts. The propaganda must continue. Oh, that's true. In the 70s, remember that one Japanese guy didn't surrender until somebody came.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got one of them. We got one of them yellow monkeys around here somewhere. We gotta find them.
That's right. Man, there's a movie about that guy too, about the
Yellow monkeys?
no, the guy that held out.
Oh, is there?
I wish I could remember the name of
World's Biggest Loser.
They actually start out like this movie's no more than 3 or 4 years old, but there was like 5 of them there.
I missed out on all the radiation over the Japan.
Yeah.
All the Godzilla movies.
I think it was in the. Oh man. Because they run into local people a couple times, and then one of the guys.
He hunted people down.
Well, there was other guys. The one I watched.
You don't look like me. I'm killing you.
There could have been another island that this.
In the Philippines, there's guys that
Yeah.
there was 2 or 3 guys that made it into the 70s, and they were still on the loose.
Yeah.
And they were taking out Filipino people. Ruthless.
Yeah. Yeah, they were not giving up.
Ruthless.
And the one I watched, it started out with 5, and one guy got wounded by some village people, ended up dying. Yeah. Then 2 more just decided, you know what, I'm out of here.
I don't. If you get wounded by village people, he's probably bending over.
I think it was a construction worker
Ow! 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 Ow!
with a nail gun.
Fabulous! Oh, Hiru Onoda was his name. Hiru Onoda.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Don't get wounded by the village people. It might take a while to heal that one.
Oh god.
We were watching the Pacific, and my daughter got such a kick out of the one guy that was motivating the guys to land on the beach, and he was coming up with all the slurs, calling the Japanese slurs. You tell those yellow monkey no good luck. And, you know, it's like, well, that's how you win wars, man. You gotta
you gotta come up with the same.
You gotta come up with stuff to like
Get 'em
dehumanize
fired
them.
up.
Then you can be nice to them once you've stomped out the people that are trying to take away your freedom. But yeah, she got a kick out of that.
Yeah, you gotta get
You remember that old Disney cartoon that had Goofy Jones and Navy? At the end of Goofy Jones and Navy, he gets launched into some torpedo tube, and you got all these Japanese ships that are all laying, and they all look like Tojo. They all got like the Japanese face with their buck teeth and the glasses, and he sinks them all. Whatever. You can't find that anymore.
Yeah, they're not gonna show you that stuff.
What?
It's hard to find even like the. Well, yeah, I mean, like they even had like Bugs Bunny stuff like that. You know.
Yeah, you can't find the. It's hard to find the gremlins from the Kremlin.
Yeah. No, we're all buddies now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was looking for stuff for the Pacific to do some Pacific terrain. You know, it'd be kind of cool. I think the Pacific. I think the Japanese work really well as NPCs.
Well, that'd be cool because you can use your island. You can have the Marines defend.
Well, the whole thing to make it imaginary is like, let's say I come across a Japanese amphibious tank. They're a piece of shit. But they look cool. Okay? A Kami. K-A-M-I. They're not communists. They're just called commies. Whatever type they are. Type 103 or whatever. Kami, whatever. If you find a model of something like that, you can't use it because you find out that they didn't use it at this time or that, and they just fucking put it in there.
Yeah.
You know, what's
Right.
You know, you're not going to put it next to a freaking king tiger. It's not that kind of game, you know.
But with your fictitious island, you can do
With the fictitious
Japanese
island.
attacking Marines or Army,
exactly.
or vice versa.
Well, I have a long tom. No, not a long tom. I do have a long tom, but that's not. We're not here to talk about my long tom today.
It's a 155, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
King Kong, which is also a 155, but it's self-propelled.
Okay.
I have one of those that somebody gave me with junk.
And you made it fix it up?
No,
Or
I'm
are you
going to. I'm going to, and then you can use it in that.
What year did they come out with that?
Probably 44.
Okay. All right.
Maybe 43. 43, because I was reading an account, some of them in Sicily the Germans came all the way up to the beach with their tanks.
Uh-huh.
And they had to beat them back with like, hey, call in this cruiser!
Naval
Broadsides
gun, yeah.
of, you know, a Brooklyn-class cruiser. That
Yeah.
I think it was the Savannah. It was Savannah or Boise. Both of those were doing fire support. It's like 15, 6-inch guns.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fucking problem,
Right.
right? They're all HE. It doesn't fucking matter, man. HE is big. Because
Yeah.
what is that? 155? Yeah,
At
broadside
least.
of 155
Yeah,
millimeter.
at least.
Yeah, that's a problem. Firing multiple times a minute,
Yeah.
that's a problem. But they came all the way to the beach, and they had a problem holding the beach until they landed an artillery battalion that had some of those King Kongs in it.
Okay.
And they direct fired some of them.
All right.
Yeah, it doesn't penetrate your tank, but like it's
But
knocked out for a while.
Yeah.
You know, you're like you're stunned. You know.
That's a lot of explosives.
But
That would make your ears ring.
one of the things I was reading in the book that was pretty interesting, or I was listening to it in the book, is when the Italians switched sides, the Americans got really comfortable with the Italians, whatever. So they'd start, you know, making fun of them and stuff, and they'd call them like, what was the thing they would pick up on the two sayings? Grazie Nazi. They'd say, bring them like some food, grazie Nazi. And then, what was the other one? Prego Dago. So I didn't know Dago comes from Diego. So anybody who's Portuguese, Spanish, Italian is technically a Dago because it's just somebody that doesn't know, that's making fun of their language like a Dago. So I guess technically I'm a Dago.
Aha!
I've been called worse. It's only offensive if you're offended by it.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
So,
All those soft party people.
so, yeah, but there's all kinds of stuff about the Italian theater I didn't know about.
Like, you didn't know the Japanese and them clashed. A small skirmish. It's like but check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, Ben was telling me what the name of the battle was here. He said,
They fought over the consulate area and wherever there's a couple gunboats.
Tianjin. Just looked it up.
Yeah.
Tianjin.
And plus there should be not too far from that is where they had two gunboats too. So there's a couple different actions going on. And it got pretty messy at the consulate. Like
After World War II started?
Yeah, this is like when the Italians switched sides, they fought the Japanese.
I didn't know that.
Like they were allied, so they were there, no problem.
Just like you don't know about the Mexican Air Force.
Yeah, see?
So the Mexicans had a squadron. Mexico was in World War II.
Yeah.
I guess they're like,
So
they jumped on it at the end. It's like, all right, we could use a few extra tacos. You know, so they just jumped in. They had a squadron that was equipped with P-47s that fought in the Philippines.
In the Philippines.
In the Philippines. I don't know that they had any ground troops. Now the Brazilians had ground troops. The Brazilians had like a brigade or something like that, and they had their own air force.
Where are they?
Italy.
In Italy.
Italy was where you get sent people that you can't communicate with. Because in Italy you had New Zealanders, Australians. No, the Australians got pulled out. They got sent to the Pacific. New Zealanders, Canadians, Poles, Free French guys, Brazilians, Americans. Who else? I'm sure I'm missing somebody.
Probably Nepal guys or Indian.
The Gurkha guys? No, they got sent over to they go chopping Japanese ears.
They went over that.
Yeah, they went to go look for. They might have had an Indian division there, which seems kind of silly because they're needed over in like.
Well, you would think, but they.
Well, they're already over here.
Yeah. They kept a bunch of people in Europe too, because they're definitely in North Africa.
There was also a French concession next to the Italian one. Awkward. So it's kind of like, what was that movie, the one with Charlton Heston?
55 Days of Future.
Which was disappointing.
Yeah, because all the action was at the end.
And he didn't play his typical character.
Yeah, he was different. It was a different deal.
What he really didn't play his different characters when he played the Warlord.
Yeah.
Remember, he plays like the bad guy in the Warlord.
Yeah. Did you ever see Cartoon?
I did. Do I remember anything about it?
No, well,
A lot of
it's
sand.
colonial. Yeah, it's colonial. So now I do know a lot about the colonial stuff, and that the Mahdi and all that. I read Prisoners of the Mahdi, one of the few books I read. That's pretty
So
interesting.
you've read more books than painted figures?
Exactly.
No? Yeah, I think the colonial period is okay if it's not just, third world, what do you call asymmetrical warfare versus the British. I like tribal guy. I like World War I in Africa.
Yeah.
You got Brits and their natives
Uh-huh.
against Germans and their natives. I think that works.
Yeah.
When
The Mahdi delivered the British defeat. There was a relief column to relieve Khartoum and
well, so did the Zulus.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. This is true.
an Italian midget submariner sank a couple of British battleships. I mean, there's a one-off for everything.
Yeah.
But there's some plausible stuff. During that period, Britain and Russia almost came to blows multiple times.
In the colonial.
In the colonial period, yeah, they were at each other's throat over Afghanistan. Remember when the Japanese whooped the freaking Russians' ass and they sent the fleet to go and they ran into in the Dogger Bank, they ran into a British shipping fleet and thought it was a sneak attack by the Japanese.
Oh.
Like, really? You're gonna launch a sneak attack all the way on the other side of the fucking world? I'm like, all right. I would have been like, I believe this is a sneak attack. How about we wait and see how fast those tugboats move towards us? Like the fucking 4-knot things or whatever. But anyways, in the Dogger Bank, and they blew a couple of them, and they almost came to blows.
Oh,
Britain and Russia would. You think the Japanese whooped your ass? Would have been a problem? The British, the Royal Navy would have kicked your ass real good.
You would not
And,
see the water side.
So, Dogger Bank, Jutland, that whole area. I watched a program a couple of years ago. I think it was on Discovery or something like that. I forget what it's called, but something along the lines of, basically, it showed these naval actions, or whether it was these wrecks, and they basically, using computer animation, like sucked all the water out.
Oh, wow.
Like, there's wrecks that sank.
Yeah.
Let's see what it looks like with all the water out.
Yeah.
And of course, it's, I've always said if I had a superpower, that'd be a pretty cool superpower. Right? Like, okay, we're going to bottle up the bed. Let's suck all the water out of the bed and see what we got here. Right? Of the fish flopping and shit like that. No, there's probably
all
some
the history.
No, it's got to be incredible.
Yeah.
But this one did Jutland. And Jutland's actually in a really shallow part of water. I know you're not in the naval ship.
Yeah.
Certainly you know about Jutland. Okay?
Yeah.
It's so shallow that if you take some of these ships, these capital ships that are 500-600 feet long, and turn them on their end, half of them sticking out of the water. That's shallow, right? When you're talking about 300 feet of water, that's nothing, right? And that's where all the wrecks are, when they're 300 feet of water. The Prince of Wales and the Repulse, when they got sent after Pearl Harbor, and they got sent over to the Far East, and they got sunk by Japanese aircraft coming out of everywhere, right? They were sunk in 200-300 feet of water. It was sunk so shallow that, I forget who it is, I don't think it was a Vietnamese, I think it was like pirates or Chinese. It was either Chinese or pirates. What's the difference? They went and actually cleaned. They took a lot of the shit off the ships.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they disturbed the war burial and shit like that. Because it's only like you could like scuba dive at that depth. I mean, you'd be like, but I mean it's shallow enough that will allow that. Because you just think, okay, you're in the middle of water, like you're done for. So it just depends where the wreck happens. Jutland, not very deep. That place off Malaya, not very deep. The Bismarck, 15,000 feet of water.
Yeah.
And the hood's like 12,000 feet down.
Yeah.
So it just depends. Because a lot of this stuff is like you're talking about U-boats. U-boats could dive 1,000 feet at the most, and that's like super deep. And World War I was just like, okay, the option of like you got to be careful if things are going to ram you into part of your ship because they don't go that deep in the water. It's a submersible boat. The option of being submersible. In World War II, I don't remember exactly how deep American subs. I'd be surprised if they go deeper than 500 feet. So they go about as deep as they are long.
Okay.
That's pretty fucking shocking.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about it.
Yeah.
So, but that was an interesting program where they did all that stuff. France and Britain almost kicked off in a southern Sudan in 1898. That would have included a lot of natives. A lot of natives wearing stuff on their head.
Well, Egypt.
Which are you? We're the ones that have the white on our head. Ah, that's our guys too. Friendly fire. What are you doing? I think that's an interesting period.
Yeah.
If I ever got in naval wargaming again, that's what I would do. And I'm not getting into naval wargaming. I played just enough Worlds of Warships to keep me from
Getting into
ships.
that.
Getting into that. But I do love ship stuff.
Yeah.
I do. And as long as it's not sailing ships. Those all look the same. They all look the same. Oh, that's obviously the way it's rigged. It's obviously a British ship is line. It's not. Who the fuck knows? I mean, you know. I know Don has that sailing ship game.
Yeah.
Doesn't interest me. I've played
Yeah.
sailing ship games. It's the whole thing that we experienced in that Civil War game.
That's the
all
problem.
over.
That's the problem.
All over. Like, you're not an arc. You move. Oh, we're an arc. Oh,
Yeah.
end of the turn. Not an arc again. You don't get the fire.
That's the
bullshit.
problem.
That's
That's the
bullshit.
problem with most of those sailing games. You know, when can you shoot and all that?
That doesn't work.
No.
That doesn't work. And it's even worse when one side has turrets. Like, oh, you're shooting at me all the time. Like, I don't think that one that Joe we played here, the ironclad one,
Yeah.
that one was all right.
Yeah.
We didn't run into those issues with that.
No.
And I'm not sure why, because a lot of the ships had fixed guns, but
It seemed like we were taking consideration where you would end up and trying to figure out. And there was enough ships that if you might not be in that gun arc,
Right, you
but
fire
that guy's
somebody
over,
different.
yeah, there's a guy
Yeah.
over there, I'll shoot a gun over there.
yeah, that was my goal. I'm firing every damn turn. I'm
Yeah.
rolling some dice. Something
Yeah.
bad's going to happen to you, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If there's enough ships, somebody's in your arc.
So, yeah, so pretty even. I didn't get to vote because I created the poll. I would have said Panther. I don't feel super strongly over one or the other. I have my reasons,
Uh-huh.
you know. But Panther only has one turret hatch at the top. So the loader is SOL. Now, it does have a nice big escape hatch in the back. But I have a feeling that's like a good place to
But that's
push
where you put the ammo
ammo
in
in.
now, right?
Yeah, that's a really good place to put the
Yeah.
ammo in. You know. And if you're going to have an aperture in the turret, having it in the back of the business end is probably the right place to
Yeah.
have it. Not on the sides. You know. It's
Okay.
not likely you're going to get... If you're ambushed from the back, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Somebody did something wrong. You know.
Where's your infantry?
Okay, well, that's it.
All right.
I'm going to start another video. We're going to play a game that's not a war game. I think I can probably get the camera going in the right direction. We'll probably have to move this way.
Yeah.
And we'll get that going because I did bring a board game. And we'll get that going. All right, folks. Thanks for stopping by, and like I said, a pretty even match with the Tigers and Panthers.
Don't lie.
If you haven't voted, vote. Put on there why you like it, even if it's a dumb reason. you
Don't
know.
forget to vote for the Bears. Tigers and Lions or Panthers and Bears.
Well, there is a. So, which German vehicle is Bear?
It's a self-propelled gun, isn't it? The howitzer deal?
The Brumbar.
Oh,
That's a grizzly bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah. He's not as dumb as he looks.
Aha!
He figured it out.
Must be the
Yeah, some of the
German-
numbers are,
Yeah.
different. Like, what's a Hummel?
That's an anti-tank gun. Or, well, self-propelled anti-tank
Okay,
gun.
but what's Hummel mean?
Oh,
And there's no reason why you should know this.
yeah, no.
Bumblebee.
Oh, Bumblebee. The Stingham.
Yeah, there's one that was. Hetzer is like. I think Hetzer is like annoying. Somebody that's annoying. Stupid
That's
Hetzer
what
or
they're
something
doing.
like that. Yeah, a little bastard. All right.
Uh,
Thanks, Ben, for stopping by. The rest of you, we'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.
see ya.